The story opens with an eerie narration about Larson, a quiet, isolated town with a disturbing history. Years ago, this place was plagued by a series of brutal murders. People were killed in horrific ways, and the killer was never caught. Locals whispered stories about a mysterious figure they called the Pale-Face Killer, a man in a white, emotionless mask who slaughtered his victims and vanished without a trace. Over time, the killings suddenly stopped. For years, the town enjoyed peace, but the memory of the killer lingered. His legend lived on, passed down in hushed conversations and ghost stories. Even though he hadn't been seen in years, people in Larson still feared the name Pale Face. The film then cuts to a chilling scene in a small, run-down motel where a young woman is being held captive. Terrified, she tries desperately to escape, but the masked killer attacks her again and again with a knife. Despite her struggle, she is brutally murdered. This scene confirms what the town feared. The killer never left. A few days later, a woman named Carly arrives at the same motel. She asks for a room, hoping to stay for a few days. At first, the front desk seems empty, but then she spots someone watching TV in a nearby room. Only their legs are visible. Before she can get a good look, a man wearing a Halloween costume suddenly appears and startles her. It turns out this is Bryce, the motel manager, dressed up for the holiday. Carly explains she wants a quiet room with a view, so Bryce gives her room 8, which is farther away from the reception area. She then heads back to her car to grab her luggage. But she's not alone. Hiding inside the car is Gabriel, her ex-husband. As soon as Carly walks away, Gabriel sneaks into the room without Bryce seeing him. It's soon revealed that Gabriel is a fugitive, wanted by the police for a crime. Carly is helping him hide, which is why she chose to stay in a low-key motel far from town. Gabriel is anxious and secretive, and Carly demands answers. When she pushes him, he finally confesses. He once worked for a younger boss who constantly disrespected him. One day, in a moment of rage, Gabriel ran over his boss with a car. He didn't mean to kill him, it just happened in a panic. Carly is furious. She reminds Gabriel that if he keeps making bad choices, they'll never get custody of their son back. We learn that both Carly and Gabriel had criminal records in the past, and they've already served time in jail. Their child was taken away by the court because of their behavior. Emotions run high, and after a tense argument, Carly leaves the room. Left alone, Gabriel tries to call his friend Andre, asking him to help him escape the country. But poor phone signals force him to move around the motel, eventually into the bathroom, where he finally connects with Andre. Andre promises to come pick him up soon. That night, Gabriel hears a woman screaming in the room next door. He grabs his gun, but doesn't leave the room, fearing that if anyone sees him, they'll report him to the police. After a few minutes, the screaming stops. Everything goes silent. Then, someone unexpectedly knocks on his door. Terrified, Gabriel waits. But after a while, the footsteps fade, and whoever it was disappears. Gabriel is unsure if this really happened, or if it's just his paranoia. The next morning, 2 police officers are shown investigating the workplace where Gabriel was last seen. A female coworker tells them that Gabriel stole money from his boss and tried to flee. When the boss confronted him, Gabriel ran him over with a car, unintentionally but fatally. The boss was a young man, and the police are now actively searching for Gabriel. Back at the motel, Gabriel's guilt is consuming him. He begins to see visions of the man he killed. Deep down, he knows the boy's death wasn't intentional. But the weight of it haunts him. The only person who can help him now is Carly. The next day, Carly returns to the motel to check on Gabriel. He's visibly shaken and tells her about the screams he heard the night before from the room next door. He's convinced something terrible happened, that a woman was being attacked. Carly, however, doesn't believe him. She thinks he might be hallucinating from stress and paranoia. After all, he's been on the run, barely sleeping, and filled with guilt over the accident. Carly even starts to suspect that maybe Gabriel did something to the woman himself. This accusation angers him. and he insists he never left the room. He reminds her that he's not the same person anymore and begs her to believe him. To clear things up, Carly knocks on the door of the neighboring room. A woman opens it. She looks calm and normal. We don't hear what they talk about, but Carly seems reassured after the short conversation. She returns and tells Gabriel the woman seemed fine. Gabriel, frustrated, tries to convince her that something still feels wrong, but Carly shrugs it off, thinking he's just imagining things. Upset, Carly decides to leave again. She heads back home and throws the motel room key in the trash, clearly done with the entire situation. She breaks down crying, overwhelmed by guilt and fear. If Gabriel gets caught, she could go to jail again too, and this time they might never get their son back. Meanwhile, at the motel, Gabriel watches nervously as police officers begin circling the area. He knows they're closing in. Suddenly, he hears a noise again from the same room next door. When he gets closer, something strange happens. A lamp falls from above, startling him. It feels like someone is watching him. At the same time, Bryce, the motel manager, has started to get suspicious. He noticed unusual sounds and movement near room 8 and tries to check in. Gabriel quickly calls Carly, begging her to help one last time, but she refuses, telling him she can't risk it anymore. As they're talking, the motel's landline rings. It's Bryce, asking to speak with Carly to make sure everything is okay. To cover for Gabriel, Carly pretends she's still there and lies that she just accidentally broke a lamp. Bryce seems convinced and hangs up. But moments later, he shows up at the door with a replacement lamp. Gabriel panics. Gabriel scrambles for a way to avoid suspicion. He hesitates to open the door, but realizes Bryce has a master key. With no other choice, Gabriel lets him in and pretends everything is fine. He lies, saying he's Carly's ex-husband and had just come to visit. Bryce seems skeptical, but doesn't push too hard. He insists on installing the new lamp, but Gabriel snaps, yelling at him to leave. Their tense exchange is interrupted by a call from Andre, Gabriel's friend. But poor signal prevents them from speaking. Andre, waiting nearby, gets frustrated when Gabriel doesn't show up and drives away, unaware of the danger unfolding. Meanwhile, the two police officers digging into Gabriel's past discover that Carly had a criminal record too. She had served time and was involved in previous cases. Realizing she might be helping Gabriel, they decide to visit her house for questioning. Back at Carly's home, she hears a knock at the door. A voice outside claims to be the police, but when she opens it, no one is there. Disturbed, she shuts the door, only to glimpse someone outside, wearing a pale mask. It's him, the pale-faced killer. Frozen with fear, Carly forgets to lock the back door. By the time she reacts, the killer is already inside. She tries to escape, but he overpowers her. Before killing her, the masked man pauses and looks at a photo of Carly and her mother, then whispers something chilling. "I killed her too." He pulls out a locket, the same one Carly's mother once wore. The next morning, the police arrive at Carly's home. The house is in shambles, blood is everywhere, but Carly's body is missing. The officers are left baffled. Meanwhile, Gabriel, still at the motel, is anxiously waiting for Andre's call. When it finally comes, he apologizes and begs for help. Andre agrees to pick him up later that night. As Gabriel begins to pack and prepare to escape, the camera reveals something horrifying. The pale-faced killer is already inside the room, standing behind him. Before Gabriel can react, he's struck unconscious. He wakes up tied to a chair, his mind spinning from fear and confusion. Across the room, Bryce, now fully unmasked as the pale-faced killer, calmly continues cleaning up as if this is just another routine. Gabriel desperately reaches for his phone and tries to call Carly, only to hear it ring inside the room. He looks over and sees Carly's lifeless body placed cruelly in plain sight. The horror of her death hits him hard. Hearing the ringtone, Bryce returns to the room, so Gabriel pretends to be unconscious. Bryce, thinking he's still out cold, drags Carly's body toward a hidden underground tunnel, and dumps it inside. But as Bryce walks away, Gabriel's phone rings again. It's Andre calling. Before Gabriel can answer, Bryce notices and smashes the phone. He grabs a knife and moves toward Gabriel, ready to finish the job. But in a last-minute burst of strength, Gabriel pushes Bryce back with all his might. Bryce stumbles, falls, and is impaled by his own knife. He dies instantly. Gabriel is alive, but barely. Stumbling out of the room, Gabriel sees Andre waiting for him in the car. For a moment, escape seems possible, but Gabriel has changed. Instead of running away, he pulls out a nearby motel phone and calls the police, choosing justice over freedom. Andre, watching from a distance, is furious and drives off, abandoning him. Just when things seem quiet, a new voice emerges from the shadows. Michelle, Bryce's wife, steps out of the darkness. Calm, collected, and eerily composed, she reveals that she was always part of the killings. In fact, their son, Sam, was too, the same masked boy Gabriel had seen earlier. Michelle explains that they've been doing this for years, targeting people and covering up the murders as accidents or disappearances. Carly had become a liability when she overheard a girl being killed, so they silenced her. Before Gabriel can react, Sam attacks him from behind, stabbing him and killing him instantly. Moments later, the police finally arrive, but the motel is silent. Gabriel is gone. Carly is gone. The tunnels beneath are now empty. When the officers question Michelle, she plays innocent, saying Gabriel had checked in days ago, but left without a word. As the police leave, Michelle calmly turns to Sam and says, "It's time to move on." In the final scene, we see Michelle knocking on Andre's door, pretending her car broke down and asking to use the phone. As he lets her in, Sam waits outside in the dark, wearing the mask. And just like that, the killing continues.